What's up, everybody? Welcome into MLB DFS Live for, Tuesday, May 18th. I'm your host, Ben Husser, joined by my boy, J. Rube. Dude, this is a tough slate, man. I'm not going to lie. You and I have been talking a little bit today. I think this is a legitimately tough slate, which I like because that means it's a tough slate for everyone, right? So I do think it's going to be hopefully profitable, but I kind of like these tougher slates, to be honest. I don't like when it's just very clear what you should do.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm happy that you always know the day of the week and the date because I never do.
Oh
So I'm
yeah,
happy
I
that
I
I'm
always
happy you do
forget
the
until I
intros.
look. Yeah, it's bad.
So I'm really happy that you do the intros because I had no idea when you stumbled there for like a half second. I was like, I can't even come in and save him right now because I have no idea.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, all I know is we have an awesome 14 game slate tonight, and I agree. There's a lot of directions to go. I think pitching is really interesting on this slate. With a couple really good spend ups, some guys that are, I think, underpriced, and then even some punt options. So a lot to break down here. We might be here a while, but I'm okay with that.
yeah. We can get right into it. If you guys have questions, you can drop them in the chat. We'll answer them as we go along. And you should head over to dfskarma.com. Check out all of our free content. If you want access to our core plays for tonight's slate, you can get my core plays, Rube's, Bales. Bales has been on fire in
Bales has been
baseball.
crushing it. Shout out to Bales.
Yeah, he's been destroying. Sriracha. Anthony has his core plays already up for tonight, so you can get those under the MLB or under the shop tab there on the website. But yeah, we can get into it. So pitching, there's some big names here, right? Like Brandon Woodruff, Blake Snell, Zach Wheeler. But I think you can poke holes in a lot of these guys. This is why I think it's a tough slate. Normally, when we come on the stream or just in general, by the time I do final thoughts, I kind of know who I want to play, and that's not really the case today because you can poke holes in a lot of these guys. I think the best pitcher overall on the slate is Brandon Woodruff, but he does have some weather concerns. So it's not like clear that you can just play him free of any risk there. And then you kind of have a big group jumbled up after him, in my opinion. So I'll let you kind of lead off here. Who do you like at pitcher? I kind of know who you like, but you can go ahead and explain who
I'll
you
tell
like.
the people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd love to be able to get up to like a Wheeler or Woodruff, but here's the problem with today is I think that Blake Snell is just they've over adjusted for his like slow start here, and just an under 9K price tag for him just seems really, really appealing, and it's someone that I want to be invested in. So I'm fine with Blake Snell being my SP1 today because I have him similarly projected, similar K props to both Woodruff and Wheeler, and I think that $2,300 goes a really long way on this slate off of the studs, because there are some bats that we do want to pay up for. We don't have like these cheap 2K cores bats or anything like that. I mean, there's some cheap guys that we like, but there's a lot of priority bats that we want to get in. And I think saving off of the two studs and playing Snell is a way to go. And then I got to go back to the well. I feel like I play this guy every single time he's on the slate, but Andrew Heaney, man, 30% strikeout rate this season. His advanced stuff has been incredible, and he gets an awesome matchup against the Indians. I think the only knock on him is that the Indians lineup does possess a lot of power in the middle of the order with Joe Ram, Fran Mill, Eddie Rosario, but there's a ton of strikeouts in this lineup for sure, and I definitely want to target the Indians anytime that I can.
Yeah. So I was kind of talking trash about Blake Snell. Not even about Blake Snell because I'm actually a big fan of Blake Snell. Everyone that's been in our Discord for a long time knows that. But he just hasn't really been himself this year. Like he's not going. He never has been a guy that's going to go deep into games. But it's been especially bad this season. So I was kind of making fun of him earlier. But before we got on here, I did do my actual first run of a lineup. And I had Blake Snell and Zach Wheeler on DraftKings together. So we'll see if that changes. I don't know. I'm not a big Zach Wheeler guy, honestly. I think a lot of times this season we've seen pitchers that are $1,000 too cheap. I think Zach Wheeler's probably like a 9K pitcher. So you're overpaying for him. But the Marlins are a good matchup. And if Woodruff has concerns about weather, and I can poke holes in a lot of these cheaper guys, I just don't see any reason not to just pay up a little bit, pay a little extra for the safety, and get Zach Wheeler because Heaney, you can play Heaney in tournaments every slate, right? But he can, have a bad game, right? Same thing with
Absolutely.
Jamison Tyon, I like a lot. If you look at his expected ERA is around 3. His actual ERA is well over 5. So he's due for some positive regression. That could come tonight against a strikeout happy lineup, but they do have power, and that's his, Achilles heel is allowing power. So he certainly could have a bad game tonight. And Zach Plesac is someone I'm a big fan of. Even with Trout, not going to be in this lineup, you still have Rendon, Ohtani, and Jared Walsh in the middle. Like, that's still tough to navigate, even though the bottom of the order is bad. So those are all risky options. I think I'd probably just rather spend up, get Wheeler. And the one thing I like about Wheeler is that they've just been letting him go so deep into these games, man. Like, he's going well over 100 pitches every single time. Even if he gives up a couple runs, he's been decent with strikeouts, and he's going to potentially come out and give you at least like 6 innings. So that's kind of my thought process there.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that if I'm paying up for one of them, it's probably Wheeler today, even with how great Woodruff's been. He's dealt with some control issues, working up pitch counts early and stuff like that. And this Royals lineup, it is a little bit dangerous. We're afraid of Merrifield a little bit. Benintendi's a good hitter. They have a lot of power with Salvador and Soler there in the middle. It's just that bottom of the order is so bad for them. That makes it really appealing. But if Woodruff has his stuff, he's going to perform. It just kind of depends on what bats you feel confident in. And on a 14-game slate, we have enough value to where you could even potentially jam in Wheeler and Woodruff if that's a route that you want to go and play a cheaper stack.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to spend up on like a big stack, but you'll still be able, even if you play Wheeler. Like, I had Wheeler and Snell. I still was able to spend up for 2 or 3 guys on DraftKings. So it's not the end of the world. That's kind of the strategy I've been using this season, anyways. So I might just ride it out. FanDuel is a little bit tougher because I do think Snell is too cheap over there as well. But it's just like you can't expect that quality start from him at all, right? And that is 4 points.
Yeah, it's really difficult with how quick of a leash they've had on him. And I think that is like a massive difference maker between him and Wheeler. Like you said, they let Wheeler go deep. I think he had, that complete game against the Brewers where he got right. They let him go to like 110 pitches. So yeah, they're definitely willing to let him go deep. So that has to be taken into account, especially on FanDuel where the win and quality start is so important.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So if we could talk about a couple of these cheaper guys, but if we're going to talk about the top and the mid tier here, ranking them, I would say as of now, I think it's Wheeler, Snell, Woodruff, and then Plesac, Tyon are like toss-ups. I think that's honestly my rankings. I'm not as on Heaney as much as you. I think I would rather play Tyon or Plesac than Heaney, but that's just my personal opinion. What about you if you're ranking the top and the mid tier guys?
Yeah, I'm definitely considering even getting up to Wheeler more now that we're just sitting here talking about it. Just that depth.
I have the trends up. Miami's only implied for it's like good hitting weather in Philly, but they're only implied for 3 runs. He's a big favorite.
Our boy Jazz back in the lineup though. Which,
that's like the one like I hate it. But so you could just, if you're not gonna play Wheeler, I would probably look to like one off one of those guys, right? Like you can one off Jazz or one of the power hitters maybe.
Mm-hmm. All right. If I had to rank them right this second, it's probably Wheeler, Snell, Woodruff, Heaney for me. And then I would probably go cheaper guys. I don't know. I'm just really not on Tyon today. I've been burned a bunch by the Rangers by going against them this year. Last night as an example against Cole, they're just so pesky. They can beat you in so many ways. I don't know. Not the biggest Tyon fan. He's another guy that I have depth concerns with. If he's walking guys and he works up an early pitch count, he's just not going to go deep into the game.
Yeah, and that's another reason I like Wheeler more and more, like the closer we get to lock here, because Snell has length concerns, right? Heaney, length concerns. Tyon, length concerns. I mean, literally everyone you want to play other than Woodruff and Wheeler probably has concerns about how deep they're going to go into the game and how efficient they can be. So just getting the guy that I know is going to throw over 100 pitches makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, especially for cash games. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I do think some of these cheaper guys are fine in tournaments. Like if you're trying to get a big expensive stack in, it is a big slate. Like I think you could look at Corbin in tournaments. He's cheap on DraftKings. Wouldn't play. I would never dip this low on FanDuel. This is DraftKings SP2s only. I think Corbin for tournaments is fine. And I think both of the 4K options, honestly, you could consider. We were kind of talking about Bubic a little bit.
Yeah.
It does affect him that Yelich is back in the lineup. So that probably hurts him a little bit more for me. I don't know a ton about this guy for the Braves, other than I know he's stretched out and the Mets lineup has been terrible because they're missing a bunch of guys. So that alone,
it's really
puts him
bad
in
again
play.
today.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, it's really, really bad again
I mean,
today.
at 4K, you only need, if he got 8 fantasy points, I would be pretty happy in tournaments.
Yeah, I think there's a path for him to get 12 to 14, and
Right.
if you get the bats right, if you need to spend up stack today, if you have a spend up, like let's say Toronto, for example, where a bunch of their guys are priced up, if they're the team that puts up double digits today, you might need one of those cheap guys to round out that stack.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I think that does it for pitcher, unless you have anyone else you want to bring up here.
No, just to touch on Patrick Corbin, I definitely think he's a really good GPP option today. He kind of feels like Max Fried did to me yesterday, where he's going underlooked. We know that he's cheap and underpriced, and he's going against a lineup with a ton of strikeouts in it. So he kind of has that feel to me that Fried did yesterday. And if Fried didn't get hurt, he might have snuck out even more fantasy points. So I definitely like the Corbin call.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like when people play these cheaper guys, like they'll see him give up a home run and they like instantly tilt. Like Patrick Corbin could give up 4 runs at his price tag, and if he gets strikeouts, it doesn't even matter, right? Like if he struck
and he
out
looked
8
really
guys,
good in
it
his
wouldn't
last
even
time
matter.
out. Yeah, he looked really good in his last outing, I believe. So, I mean, I'm okay with that today, and maybe it's something that I'm going to explore here if I do need to get up to Wheeler while sticking with some of the bats that I'm already pretty locked in on.
Yeah, I think I looked on earlier. I don't know how big the sample size was. I think it was at least like 40 plate appearances. I think it was like career 30% strikeout rate against the Cubs active roster. So
yeah, that's good. Though the guys that I'm afraid of, obviously Contreras, Bryant, are the lefty smashers. But then if Baez makes contact, it could go a long way. But it's a big if he's making contact. So
yeah, I don't know. Is the wind blowing in there again too? I didn't check.
No, it's out. It's out to left today, which isn't great. It's 10 miles per hour out to left. Not one of the crazy Cubs wind games either way, but still, not super encouraging.
All right, we'll talk about some stacks here before we talk about some positional plays. I think overall, I don't know if we'll see a ton of chalk today outside of like the Rays guys. I think are going to be pretty highly owned. Everyone knows to use them, and maybe like some individual bats, right? Like I think Acuna might end up getting some ownership, even though he's expensive. I think people will want to look to play him, but I think outside the Rays, we're going to see pretty spread out ownership. I do probably have the Rays lefties number 1 on my board. Don't need to play the righties. Matt Harvey is good against righties, man. Like you don't need to play these righties against him, but you can certainly play Brandon Lau and Meadows and all those guys. They'll be chalk. But I like the White Sox a lot, which I know you do too. And then I like the Braves a little bit, and then there's some other teams I think you can take shots on, but I think the White Sox are super interesting. We were talking about it in Discord, but the Twins bullpen is in shambles, right? It was in shambles heading into yesterday. They just destroyed J Happ, and then they went to work on the bullpen, and now they scratched Pineda, and I don't know anything really about this guy that they're starting, but all I know is if they get him out early, it should just be a massacre again, to be honest.
Yeah, Bailey Ober, I believe is his name. He is a prospect for the Twins, but I don't think he's highly touted in any capacity. I don't even know how stretched out he is, but we saw this White Sox total shoot up. to 4.7 already. I think if we had a little bit better weather and the wind wasn't blowing in, the total might be even higher. But yeah, I definitely like this White Sox lineup. I was just talking about Jake Lamb before we got on here. 2.6K in the 2-hole tonight. Definitely a candidate to get pinch hit for, but they won't really have a reason to do that if they get out to the big lead like we expect them to. And one name that we actually didn't mention for pitchers is Lance Lynn. I think he could catch some ownership today, and he's definitely interesting. Maybe even as a FanDuel play, lock in that win quality start if we think that the White Sox roll here. So yeah, White Sox is a stack, and then obviously the Rays are going to be really popular. I actually think a Rosarena is going to be a little bit more popular than you think, just because we know Meadows and Lau are going to be really popular, and I've even seen Willie Adams get some traction hitting ninth today. He kind of makes sense for that like wraparound stack. How do you feel about G-Man Choi in the middle of that Rays lineup? Just came back off the IL. They sent how do you pronounce his name to the Dodgers? Who's in the line today? Skugo, what's his name?
We just call him Yoshi.
Yoshi. Yeah, they sent him to the Dodgers, so that kind of speaks to Choi's health, in my opinion. That he's ready to go. 3.6K is an appealing price tag, and another lefty against Matt Harvey.
Yeah, I like Choi. I think if you're not spending up for Freeman, I think you can play Choi. Like I would probably have him third, honestly, at first behind Freeman and Vlad Jr. Honestly, I think he's a really good play.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. One other stack that I want to talk about is in that Nationals Cubs game again. Is the lefties against Zach Davies. He's not a pitcher that I'm afraid of at all. And going to Soto, Bell, and Schwarber. We saw Bell and Schwarber. They were popular last night and paid off in a big way for people. I think Juan Soto could fly under the radar today. And he's a guy when he's going to be lower owned than expected, I want to be invested in.
Yep. I don't hate that call. I would throw the Padres in just because I love the stack against Austin Gomber. But man, the Padres have not been good to me this year, man. This is one of the teams that have just let me down repeatedly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel great about them. Maybe like Tommy Pham as a one-off or Machado as a one-off if Pham gets a good lineup spot. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel great about them right now, which is weird. Yeah, can we talk about, looking at the beginning of the season, look at this Dodgers lineup that they're rolling out.
It's horrible.
I mean, it's insane.
It's terrible.
It's incredible how bad it is.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are like on a normal day, they would be like the best stack today, but I just don't want to play that lineup at all. We do have to mention the Blue Jays. I know Anthony's all in on the Blue Jays. This is one of the last, I think June 1st is when they're going to start playing in Buffalo. So this is kind of the last week and a half here to play them in that Little League park down in Florida. But dude,
yeah,
Vlad is just so good. His minor league numbers there were insane, and he just crushes every time he plays there. And Rodriguez does give up home runs, and they have a ton of right-handed power. So
yeah, for sure. I respect Rodriguez and Ryu as pitchers. Ryu as pitchers. So I don't know. It's a tough spot for me. Wind's actually blowing in heavy there today. I don't know if you saw that 20-mile-per-hour winds blowing in.
That's a good thing to bring up. That's important because a couple nights ago, I don't know what night that was, man. It was maybe last Friday. I think it was last Friday. I stacked the Blue Jays. I had the full 5-man Blue Jays against someone not very good. Or just like an average. And they weren't super high owned because it was a big slate like this. And they were expensive. And I think both Teoscar Hernandez and Bichette just hit absolute rockets that on a normal day would have been out in that ballpark, but the wind actually did knock them down, and neither of them were home runs. So that wind blowing in actually is important, even though it's a really good hitting environment.
Yeah, that's a little discouraging for me. I don't know. It's not a spot that I want to jump all over, even in the Little League Park today. I'm not crazy.
They're more on my, them and the Padres are more in my, I guess the Braves too. That's my tournament list. It's mainly just Rays and White Sox, but I don't think you have to full stack on the slate. I think you can just, look to mini stack and get 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, we did get a question in the chat from Jeremy just asking about if we like Heaney for tonight. I think we've both come to the consensus. Ben talked me not off him a little bit, but definitely way more of a GPP play than someone that we're going to trust to roll out in cash. Even if he's going to be really highly owned, it is a good matchup, but definitely someone that is volatile. So I think we're both on him being a really good GPP play, but not a priority.
Yeah, the problem with him is like if it was a 7-game slate, I wouldn't want to play him in cash games. So when you add in like it's a 14-game slate, I really just don't want to play him. Like if when we get the slates that he is really chalky, I invite other people to play him as chalk. Like he certainly can go out and drop 30 DraftKings points anytime he toes the rubber, but he's just he's too wild and like just inconsistent to be 30+% owned on a big slate like this, even with mediocre pitching options, I would say.
Yep, I agree. I think that's good for stacks. Obviously, we'll touch on it a little bit more here as we fly through positions.
Yeah, so we'll start out at catcher here. I don't know if you're spending up today. I think if you do, Mercedes, much has been made about him hitting that home run on the 3-0 count last night against Astudillo, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to throw at him. I don't really care about that. He's probably my top option again tonight. And then Grandal as well, I think is a good play. I like Grandal more when he hits against righties than lefties, so that's good. And he'll be lower owned, I think, today. I don't think people have really been playing him. And then you have James Mccann for cheap as well.
Mccann actually, I don't think made the lineup. Nito
wow,
did
I'm
today.
shocked he's not in the lineup.
Yeah, especially against a lefty. Yeah, and I was looking to play him today. I thought he was going to be a really good play, but yeah, Thomas Nito made the lineup, and he's actually hitting fifth. He was the guy who I just had in my first build here.
All right, so well, that's a good value play. I think Austin Noel is fine, but he's actually. I haven't dug into the reasoning here. He's been better against righties for a while than lefties. It's quite interesting. But I think I'm looking White Sox, or I guess we'll just punt.
Yeah, I think I agree. In terms of the White Sox guys, I don't know if you've seen this on White Sox Twitter, but they're all pissed that Grandal isn't swinging at everything and trying to hit home runs this year. His on base percentage is 400, and they're all mad about it because he's not driving in runs right now. White Sox, I mean, they just can't be happy, despite how good their lineup is. And I have no problem with the Yerman Mercedes home run last night. I don't think anybody should. I mean, they were literally laughing about it. The only people who are mad about it are the boomer broadcasters who are oh my God, they're running up the score. Who cares? You're throwing a position player. Don't get beat by freaking 13, and then that won't happen.
Yeah, I agree. But I think so. If people play White Sox, I think they're more inclined to play Mercedes though, because of even just because he homered last night. I don't think
he was 40% owned. He was 40% owned last night. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Grandal's a really good play, honestly. First base. I mean, you know who I like at first base. So I'll let you lead off here.
Yeah, I know who you like. I'm gonna poke holes in him eventually, but for me, I kind of like the spend down options here with Ji-Man Choi and Josh Bell. I think I'm trying to decide between one of them right now. Can you help me make that decision? Because I'm struggling with it, man. I want to do the race stack, but Choi just, he's just not that appealing upside play. You're really looking for a multi-hit game from him when Josh Bell could really get it done in one swing, especially against Zach Davies, someone that I don't really respect on the mound. Bell was pretty popular last night. I think he ended up being 20-25% in GPPs, and he did pretty well. So I could see him getting up there again today. And it's kind of chalk that I'm okay eating because I do think he's an elite play at 3.3K here for a value play. Especially now that I'm looking to get Wheeler in my lineup.
Yeah, this is tough. I think if you're picking between one of them, I don't know, man. I think it comes down to if you have Lau and Meadows, I think you probably play Choi.
Yeah, you probably want Choi. Yeah, that's how I was feeling as well. Yep.
Yeah, I do agree. That's the two best value plays. People might play Yoshi because he's 2,200 on DraftKings, but I'll pass on that. I think Choi and Bell are definitely the top two value plays. Freeman's my favorite option again. I just feel like I have to go back to him, man. I mean, I played him last night. He was low owned. He just missed his first at bat should have been a home run, just missed, and then later on he had another like warning track fly out, just barreled it up, thought it was out, and it wasn't. So I feel like super inclined to go back to him. We were talking, he destroys sinkers, and the Mets said they're opening with Castro. So his first at bat's going to come against Castro that throws sinkers over 40% of the time to left-hand batters. So I feel good about Freddie again tonight. I know you don't want to play him, but I think he's my favorite play again here.
It's so tough because I mean, it is difficult. I do think he's a good play, and he's starting to get hot again. Oh man, I don't think I can do it. I also don't know if I'm gonna have the money for it because I do really like these kind of value for space options, which is tough.
I think he's gonna be low owned again.
Very low owned. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah, like you're gonna get him under 5% owned, and he could easily double dong. Yeah,
I thought he was gonna be double digit ownership last night, and he was pretty low owned.
Yeah, I thought Voit was going to get some ownership last night, and he ended up not getting owned. It was really Ohtani who paid off, who soaked up a lot of ownership, and I forget. Oh, and Josh Bell. Those are the two who soaked up a lot of the first base ownership.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how sharp. Obviously, baseball's random, but Ohtani was like 40% owned against a lefty, and I thought it was a really good spot. But I mean, 4 years ago, no one lefty was approaching anywhere near double digit ownership, basically. Yep. So it's just crazy. But I do like Vlad Jr. as well at first base, but I think it's Freeman or the cheap guys for me today. Second base, I mean, Brandon Lau is going to be like super chalk. Do you have any reason not to play him today?
And for good reason too. No, I think he's like a unbelievable play, like a really, really good play. Like him and Meadows are probably like they were the first two guys that I put in my lineup today. I was kind of hoping they were hitting 1-2 next to each other, make it easy for the mini stack. But yeah, they were the first two guys I put in my lineup today. I mean, he's just really, really strong. Some other options at second base. You can always go Jose Altuve against a lefty. Don't know if I want to pay up for that though. And then Dylan Moore, I know you were interested in him last night. If he cracks the lineup today at 2.7K, he's a cheap option that you could look towards.
Yep, I really wanted to play Dylan Moore last night. That was a disaster, man, because Chalk Madrigal hit like his first home run. I didn't even play him.
Yeah, it's tough.
Just terrible. But yeah,
it barely went out too.
I know.
Of course, I was
like
excited,
so lucky, dude. Like,
yeah, it was pretty lucky. Yep.
I mean, it was the best spot though, so I can't really be mad about it. Like, I probably should have just played him, but yeah, I agree. Lau's probably the top play here. You don't need to fade all the chalk, right? Even in tournaments. Like, I know he's going to be really high owned, and it's stupid to play batters in DFS like that because they can easily get a zero, especially him. Like, he strikes out a lot, but you don't have to like entirely fade the chalk. You can play some chalky guys get different elsewhere. So I don't see any reason to not play him. Cameron Maven has been traded to the Mets. Give me an instant take here before I finish second base.
I mean, that's just.
I didn't even know he was still in the league. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you.
We just need to get healthy. I mean, that's brutal. I mean, that's just so gross.
Did you honestly know he was still playing?
How bad the lineup is. I don't. What team was he on? The Angels still? No. Like, what team was he on?
Not a clue.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that we were in the outfield market just as a Band-Aid. I obviously want us to make the big splash to get Chris Bryant before the trade deadline, but that would cost a prospect, probably our top third base prospect, Beatty, who we drafted 2 years ago. But I think it's worth it. So there's my takes.
All right. Other than Brandon Lau, I think Ozzie Albies is fine, and I think if you're not playing Zach Wheeler, we were talking about Jazz Chisholm back in the lineup, hitting leadoff. If you're not playing Wheeler, it would make sense to play somebody against him.
I completely agree. We are both Jazz fans. He made us a lot of money in the beginning of the year, and I'm happy to see him healthy back in the lineup. I hope he hits a home run if I don't play Wheeler, and I hope he strikes out 3 times if I do play Wheeler. So that's where I'm at right now with that decision.
All right. Third base is a mess for me. I was really hoping Jake Lamb.
It's a disaster.
I was hoping Jake Lamb still had third base, and he doesn't. He's first base outfield. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I think Moncada's in play. I do like him better against righties than lefties. I think you could play Joey Wendell, like lefty fitting with the Rays lefties theme. I think Austin Riley's cheap. I had him on FanDuel last night and then moved off him. And of course, he hit a home run. So that was fitting with how my night went. But I think you can play
Yep.
him. I think you could play like Machado or Jose Ramirez if you're spending up. But I'm probably gonna have to save here. And there's just not a ton of cheap options that I'm liking at the moment.
Yeah, look at Frosty trolling me in our Discord right now. The Mets lineup is even worse today. Yeah, thanks, Frosty. I know. But what do you call it? Yeah, for me, actually, speaking of the Mets lineup, this is where you can find some value at their base. Jonathan Velar leading off today for the Mets against a lefty. He's actually been pretty good this year. So,
What is his price?
that's 3.3K. So it's definitely appealing. I kind of wish it was, 3K. I don't know. That couple hundred definitely makes a difference because it puts him like in the same category as all these other guys. But I don't know. You could go Michael Franco. I don't know. Alec Baum. Like there's a bunch of cheap options that you could go to here. I think that's the range that I'm going to try to find a guy in. Baum's been fantastic this year. He's had a bunch of great games over the past 2 weeks. So that might be somewhere I go against this, Miami kind of bullpen game. Yeah, but I'm definitely looking to save here at third base today. Moncada is definitely interesting. And if I do stack the White Sox, he will be involved in that stack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here. I literally don't see anyone cheap right now that is interesting to me. Like below 3K, I don't think there's anybody.
No.
So yeah, VR might be the guy. I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think he's
him and Riley
play.
are right around that same price. I think I would probably pick.
Yeah,
those
Bomb same price, like all those guys. That whole range, I think. And let's throw in Starlin Castro as well. If you want to do a little national stack in there, which I think is fine against Davies, you can kind of throw that in there. Maybe Schwarber got his home run last night in the revenge game, and Castro gets his home run tonight. Is that how this is going to go in this Nationals Cubs series?
Could work like that.
Yeah.
He's actually been good. He didn't do anything last night, but overall he's been pretty good recently.
It's crazy how sneaky consistent Castro has been throughout his career, actually. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's been good. Like he was a top prospect. He never ended up being like a star, but he's been solid.
Yeah, he's been fine. Yep.
All right. Shortstop. Are you spending up here? I mean, typically I feel like 6 years ago you were always punting shortstop, but really for the last few years I've always been spending up here. You have Tim Anderson, even Lindor. I think is fine. Still under 5K on DraftKings. I'm fine playing him. So do you want to spend up here? Or are you saving?
I think I was leaning a spend up here. I like Tim Anderson quite a bit. He's been hot as of late. He just continues to get better. We talked about the total on the rise here for the White Sox with the pitching change.
It's just flying. I feel like every time I look at this, it's higher.
Yeah, it just keeps going up. I think we have to stack the White Sox again today. I think it was Marty put in our Bet Karma Discord that he took the over 4.5 runs for the White Sox, which I think is a great bet. So yeah, Tim Anderson is definitely my spend up. You know what? I've actually been pretty locked in on him ever since that news came out that I haven't really explored other options. The one that I was interested in if I need savings is the Willie Adams in the 9-hole and do the little wraparound stack with the Rays. I thought that was interesting. And maybe even Joey Wendell hitting 6 today for the Rays to target Harvey with a lefty.
Yeah, I would throw Ha-Seong Kim in there. I played him last night. He actually did good, right? He had I think an RBI single.
Yeah, I was watching that game. I was watching that game thinking about you, knowing that I think you got on him, right? And he was doing all right, but I knew it wasn't enough.
It didn't matter, but I mean, he's cheap, 2,200 against just a bad pitcher. So if you really need savings, I think you could consider him. But yeah, Tim Anderson, I think, does stick out here as the top play.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move on to outfield, there are a couple questions in the chat that we could just hit real quick if you want. Someone asked, what about Dunn for Seattle? I do think that's an interesting GPP play. We saw Kikuchi strike out. What was it? 8 or 9 guys last night. I think he got to. Despite giving up runs. Dunn is a talented prospect. He struggles with control issues, but we know the Tigers will chase out of the zone. We normally like to attack them with those lefties with strikeout potential. But I definitely think Dunn is interesting at 6.3K. What do you think about him?
Yeah. I mean, if you were going to play someone in that range, I would probably rather just play Corbin, or like I would rather drop down and maybe play this Davidson guy for the Braves, just
Yeah,
because
I
the
agree
Mets
with
lineup
that.
is terrible.
Yep. Another question is a Miami stack a reach? I think we are both going to agree that it is. That we'd probably rather just play a one-off if we were going to not play Wheeler. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you don't need to full stack them. I think like the way to do that, like you said, just play like a one off. You can play Jazz. You could play one of the power hitters, something like that. I don't think you need to full stack them on a 14 game slate. Even though the weather there is actually pretty good, but I don't think you need it on the slate.
Yeah, and then last question for now. I don't know if it was a question or a statement, but Jeremy, who is new to our Discord, I saw him in there yesterday. Just said Alex Bregman, and that gets me going here. Here, Ben.
Oh yeah,
Whenever anyone talks about Alex Bregman, I'm ready to go. Bregman against a lefty, even at 5.7K. Yeah, sign me up in a GPP if you're going cheap at pitching. He could be a sick one off for the Astros against a lefty.
agree. Outfield's tough, man. I don't like talking about outfield on streams just because you're just naming so many guys. Like there's tons of guys here that are in play, right? So narrowing it down to the guys I really like. Meadows, really chalky. You got to play him in cash, and I don't really see a reason to fade him in tournaments unless like I would not one off him in tournaments, right? Like you're either playing him with two or
Yeah.
three other Rays, or I just wouldn't play him if that's the way you're going about it. I like for spend ups, I like Acuna and Harper, I think, but you talked about Soto earlier. He's right there as well. And then for like other guys that I think will be lower owned, I like Fran Reyes a lot against Andrew Heaney, towards the top of the league in barrels per plate appearance. Heaney, obviously, we know gives up home runs, and Fran just crushes lefties. And Tommy Pham, I don't know if he'll be chalky because he's cheap. Like I haven't really checked projection systems to see if he's popping, but he's cheap and against the lefties, so you could talk me into that. Plus, we have the cheap White Sox guys that we were talking about earlier, Vaughn and Jake Lamb.
Yeah, it'll depend on lineup spot for fam. I think for me, I'll just go like spend ups. The 4 spend ups that I'd be looking at would be the 2 Rays guys of Rosarena and Meadows, and then both guys that you mentioned, Bryce Harper and Soto. I'm liking this Nationals team more and more here as I start thinking about things, doing a little Soto, Bell, Schwarber, Castro stack. I don't know. I don't know if I'll do Turner over Anderson, but I mean, it's not crazy to do, I might do a little national stack today. I kind of like them. Just a little spoiler for the end for a home run call, maybe. But those are the 4 spend ups. And then for value in the outfield, it would be Schwarber and then let me look through my list here real quick. Obviously Meadows, lock him in. I think we're both playing Meadows today, no doubt about it. Jake Lamb, either in a White Sox stack or even as a one-off. I mean, he's cheap enough to one-off at 2.6K. Always like him. He has some power upside. And then the one guy who's been unbelievably chalky and everyone's been playing, and it kind of seems like people might not play him today, is Jared Kelenic. He made us a lot of money with that 30-point performance. He's really done nothing in the other games besides that. But when we have one of the top 5 hitting prospects in baseball under 3K against Spencer Turnbull, it feels like a spot that I want to attack. So I'm definitely interested in going back to the Kelenic well.
Yeah, I love him tonight. Again, I think that's a great call. Might consider playing him in my core plays. We'll see. I have no idea really what I'm doing bats wise. I think I'm pretty set that I'm gonna play Wheeler and Snell together, but no clue what I'm gonna do with the bats. So I'm gonna need
Yeah.
some cheap guys. So I might actually end up having Kalenic in there. I think that's a really good call.
It definitely feels like we're about to be talking about some things after stream here. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude,
there's
I
just so
got
much
no
to dive
idea.
through on. There's just so much to dive in here on 14 game slates, and that's why it's so important to be in our Discord and get our core plays and kind of see where we end up. You know, after we do this, the 2 more hours of brainstorming that we do after we get off this live stream, and we see more lineups come out, some total shift. Sam's favorite thing, pitching scratches left and right on a 14 game slate. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll see. Oh, one cheap guy in the outfield as well, Dylan Carlson. You know, another good cheap hitting prospect at 2.9K. Maybe if you're doing like the double spend up with Woodruff and Wheeler, he's a cheap guy that you could get to.
Yeah, and
as well.
he hits lefties really well. I think that's a
He
really good
does.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't normally play I normally play on DraftKings. Like I'll play that 121 single entry, and I'll play once in a while. I'll play the $100 on FanDuel, but mainly I just play cash. I don't play really big tournaments. I did join that monster on FanDuel, $450. So I've got to figure out what I'm playing because
I was wondering why we were talking about FanDuel so much, and then I remembered this morning that
I'm
you
playing
said
this
that.
big one tonight.
I
So
forgot you're in that
yeah,
tonight.
my core plays. You can get access to the core plays I'll be using in that exact tournament, on the site. I don't know. I'm gonna have some decisions to make for that, obviously. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Thank you guys for joining. Before we head out, I do want to get your home run call, Rueb.
I have to do it. Just the more I sit here and think about it, it's got to be Juan Soto tonight. I mean, I've been talking about it. I've been talking him up. I think I might go with a national stack, sprinkle in some Rays and White Sox around them. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with is a Juan Soto home run call tonight. He gets back on track.
I like it. Can't argue that at all. I'm gonna go back to Freddie Freeman for mine. First inning home run from Freddie Freeman tonight.
All right, I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any other questions, you can get in our Discord for free. Go to dfskarma.com. The banner's right there at the top. Whenever you go to the homepage, you can get in for free. You won't have access to the premium channels, but you can ask us some questions in the channels there in a Discord for free. Other than that, huge slate tonight. Good luck tonight, guys. I'm sure you guys are playing some tournaments or some big tournaments out there. So good luck tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on Wednesday.
Go win something.